Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whale Nerds Podcast. This is episode 117. My name is Slater, and I'm here with Adam and Caitlin.
What's up?
Hello.
And we just started the Breakfast Podcast.
I feel like this happens like once a year.
Is this the earliest we've ever
happened.
recorded?
We recorded this early one time when I was at my parents' house.
7:03 a.m.
Because I was like in a blanket and a sweater because it was so cold.
Really?
Slater's still waking up like he has a cup of coffee. That sounds nice. I wish I had one.
Tea. It's tea.
Oh, just kidding. Sorry.
I had to boil it.
Slater always wants to do these super early, and I'm like, I'm just not down. I'm not a morning person.
Whatever, Adam. I would do it early.
Really? Is it just me that's holding us back?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
All right.
Okay,
Well, I'll consider it.
Okay. Let's get our morning announcements out of the way here.
Morning announcements.
Thank you to everyone who supports us in whatever way, shape, or form that is, whether it's Patreon, going on trips, listening to the podcast, rating, reviewing, tell people about it, wearing merch, whatever it is. Thank you for supporting us. We literally wouldn't do this without you. So thank you. Also, just kind of some updates about what we've been up to and doing. If you haven't been listening to the last couple episodes, if you like to jump around, you can keep up with everything all the time on our website and on our social media feeds. It's all under the name of the podcast. The website is thewhalenerds.com. Everything else is at Whale Nerds. But you can see our blog. You can see what trips we're running. Our October trip to San Juan Islands is postponed to 2023. We would still love to have you there, but also we're going to Antarctica with Cheeseman's Ecology Safaris. And that's a trip that anyone can go on with us as well. So if you'd like to go on that trip and you want more information, shoot us a message or just stay tuned on our websites or our email list is a great way to get updates about that kind of stuff with direct links going right to your inbox. You can also see our merch on there, and then our video versions of our episodes are available on our YouTube channel. I think I got everything.
Go fast.
Go fast.
You were saying that so fast.
I mean,
it wasn't fast. It was just coming in fast.
It wasn't okay.
Maybe it is early. No, I'm just joking.
So yeah, with that, I think sightings is what's up next.
That is like on the agenda.
What have we seen since then? Not a lot, I feel like. Not any of us have seen a lot.
I saw a lot.
Whatever.
You're just a hater.
You go first. I'm sad.
Okay. I mean, I will admit the humpback whale numbers have been fairly slow. And it's interesting, like when you can tell which individuals are around, because you really do get a sense of how much the whales are moving in Monterey Bay. Like we hadn't seen bottlenose and her calf for like 5 days, something like that. I swear she moves like 20 to 25 miles a day inside the bay somewhere. And so the odds of just like picking her up are slim, but we had been seeing her almost every day for weeks. And then we saw them yesterday, and I don't think I'd seen her for quite a few days before that. And her and her calf were being pretty mellow. And Kate and I both were like trying to think of who our favorite calves were for the year. And Clubs' calf
is you're picking favorite calves
already.
Not yet. We're just looking
already?
at who's in the running.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
Bottlenose calf was in the running at the beginning of the season, but then she's been keeping that calf really busy so that it doesn't get active all the time. I feel like that's my interpretation of watching her, is like she keeps that thing moving because it's like this close, like just like inches away from losing its mind every day that we see it. And she just is like, let's go, like keep moving. Well, yesterday morning, she let it lose it for a little while, which was cool. So the calf did like a big breach, and she did a chin slap and a tail slap. And then the calf breached a few more times and rolled around. Nice. So that was pretty fun. We have still been seeing lots of Rizzo's dolphins, and then occasionally Pacific white-sided dolphins and northern right whale dolphins. because I really just think the killer whale party is up off of the Farallones and off of Davenport, and all the dolphins know that, and so they've just been playing in Monterey Bay.
Wait,
They're stoked.
did you see the dolphins yesterday at all?
Yeah.
All of them?
No, I just saw Risso's dolphins.
Okay.
Well, we saw Bottlenose dolphins too, but
Oh yeah.
just Risso's dolphins yesterday. But the other boats were saying there were white sides around as
Yeah,
well.
I
But
had them.
yeah, the sea conditions were just too. By the time I went to go look at them, it was just too bouncy and wet. I didn't want to beat up my people. But we had lots of surface active whales yesterday, so that was cool. We saw Vertigo, who's a 2016 calf, so 6 years old.
It was breaching.
That's the other whale
Yeah.
that was breaching. And then, so that's kind of been the main theme of the last week. Risso's dolphins, whitesides, humpback whales. But we had a really glassy, sunny, calm day the other day.
Yeah, which made yesterday not as cool.
That's true.
But
But
except for everything the whale went off.
yeah.
That was so cool.
But we saw sharks, lots of sharks, which was cool. Like it was actually like a
Oh.
50% shark watch the other day.
Yeah.
I saw 2 salmon sharks, which were like that was the first time I for sure like saw it good enough to be like, yes, this is a salmon shark. Like you
That's
could
so cool.
actually tell it apart from like a juvenile mako or a juvenile great white. And then we saw a blue shark, and then I saw a leatherback sea turtle. Finally. Flipping finally.
Wow. How long have you been on the water?
Over 8 years.
8 years. And this is your first. I saw a leatherback for about 42 milliseconds, but I still
Yeah.
saw it.
No, this turtle was awesome. It like stayed up long enough for a bunch of boats to pass it off to each other.
It
Oh,
literally
it's so cool.
It went
Just
under
sat there.
boats. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like there's a bunch of moon jellies like 10 feet down. And I think it was just kind of like zooming around right there subsurface the whole time because it didn't really move a whole lot. So
That's so cool. It looked giant too.
it was pretty good sized female. Yeah.
I think I've seen bigger ones though.
Yeah.
So what, are you stoked, Caitlin, or what? You're in the
Yeah, dude, freaking
LB,
awesome.
what do we call it? The
I don't know.
Leatherback Sea Turtle Club.
Leatherback Turtle Club.
There we
Sure.
go. Welcome.
I
You're
know.
now an honorary member.
Caitlin, you don't know unless you could hear the radio, but I asked Kate like 6 times. I was like, are you on your way yet? Are you on your way yet? Because then she's like, we're looking at a salmon shark. And I was like, damn it. I was like, get your butt over here. Caitlin needs to see this leatherback. And I was like, it's going to, and like, there was a lot of like traffic already. So I was like, this thing's going to go down and not come back up. And then Caitlin's not going to see it. And then I'm going to be disappointed.
Well, I said to her, because I think she forgot. So I said to her, I was like, well, if we get lucky and it comes up over there, like, great, because I was just managing expectations. Because I've had other times where someone's like seen it and we go by that area 10 minutes later and like don't see it.
I'm really surprised you haven't seen one before.
Yeah. It just
timing, man.
Timing, but also the captain's decision making about things like
going. Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
because to be honest, like that turtle, that was really lucky that many boats got to see it. Most of the time, they're down for 30 minutes and then, you don't know where it's going to come up. So it is a gamble to go sit there and like get your people all hyped and then like not see it.
I think
that
we'll
makes
see more.
sense.
So yeah, I mean, there's lots of jellyfish around and that one looked like it was eating moon jelly. So I'm hopeful that moon jellies are a good enough menu item that it'll stay. Although that turtle looked kind of sad after it got tagged. I'm not saying that the tagging it's not their fault.
You saw it?
Well, I saw a video of it.
Their fault.
I saw a video of it after it'd been tagged and it was swimming so fast, like not even with the research boat there. Like later on when another boat saw it with the tag on, it was like the fastest I think I've ever seen a turtle move. I was like, oh geez. This thing's tired of boats for the day.
And it was already tagged. What was the science on that?
What do you mean it was already tagged?
I believe it was already tagged, no?
No.
Wait,
no,
someone said something about it being tagged in like 2004.
No, this is the first time they've been able to tag a leatherback turtle in Monterey Bay in July since 2004.
Oh.
Yeah. So I guess
I think they were talking about it on the radio.
something about how it's really early in the year or something. I honestly don't really keep up with the tagging team. But I knew that Scott Benson from NOAA and the other Southwest Fisheries Science Center crew had been doing overflights and also using the Sheila B from, I think that's a Moss Landing Marine Lab boat, doing surveys because Kate has been in touch with him every day.
Oh, they bought that boat?
No. Well, they rented it for the week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're surveying, I think, until tomorrow.
I have a lot of photos of that boat sitting there.
Of the Sheila B.
That's the fishing boat, right? Oh no, I'm thinking of what's the boat in Monterey?
You're thinking the old one.
The Monterey boat, the Fulmar, the Steelhead.
Hold on, Sheila B boat. It's the. I thought it was the fishing boat that's out of. It's not a fishing boat.
The San Giovanni.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was that.
No, the Sheila B's that little aluminum one because they have like the John Martin, the big fiberglass one, and then they have the littler one. Yeah.
That's funny.
So anyway, so they're doing.
I thought it was I was like, why are they using that thing?
No, can you imagine trying to sneak up on a leatherback sea turtle in the San Giovanni, this giant sardine trawler? No way.
I don't know why. Yeah, swear. Anyway.
But yeah, so they're supposed to survey until tomorrow. So I don't know if they'll come across another one, but it's pretty interesting because like for a week or two before, Kate was texting him like, here's where I'm seeing jellyfish at the surface. This is what kinds, like, no one's called out a turtle yet. And that's the first day.
The timing there is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, just the odds of like your survey dates match up with when the first turtle of the season is sighted.
Chase Decker was sitting there and he I guess across boats he talked to me and he was like, I literally was looking at the water and I was like, man, all these jellies, I wish there was a leatherback or whatever he said. He's like I bet there's a leatherback, and like as he said it, like the leatherback popped up right in front of, like right next to him.
Stop it.
Yeah, and so that's how he found it.
Wow, that's cool.
He was watching it under the surface the whole time, like a drone, but he wasn't a drone. He was just standing on top of the boat.
He was a person.
Standing on the roof.
So he was just like, Slater, it's coming up right there.
Nice.
That was super cool.
So yeah, that's my sightings. Humpbacks, dolphins, sharks, turtles.
Pretty good.
Yeah, mine are pretty similar to Caitlin's.
Gotcha.
I saw only one different whale than her yesterday. Was that sleepy humpback that I found before, right before you found your pair.
I was coming to you. That pair saved us.
Yeah. I heard you talking about the Fran from the day before. So I was like, I didn't click in that you even had a pair today. And I was like,
yeah.
And then you were like, I'm with a pair. And I was like, wait, you're with a pair? I was like, I'm coming there. My whale's asleep. Literally, my whale was straight up asleep. Like it literally drifted down towards me. And then it like arched up. It didn't even fluke. It went down. And then it went back behind my boat and like popped up again, drifted down. It like did this little like circle like 3 times.
Just got in a little rip and just drifted while it was napping.
But it would like go up into the wind and then like come back and pop up, like take 6 breaths and then do the same thing. But then you called out yours and I was like, see ya.
Yeah. Actually, the other thing I will mention that's been pretty cool probably the last 2 weeks, but really this past week is the bottlenose dolphins have been out in front of Moss Landing Harbor a lot. And a couple times we've seen them with what we think is salmon, like they kind of throw it around a little bit because they have to rip them up.
For sure, that photo I thought you got.
Yeah, and then the other day I got a photo where they definitely, like 2 of them were ripping the salmon apart. And that was pretty funny.
Dude, they eat a lot of cool stuff, bottlenose.
I mean, right in front of Moss is like all you can eat seafood buffet. They're catching anchovies, they're catching salmon, they're catching squid. I mean, the squid fishing fleet's been parked 100%. Right out there for days. Yeah, halibut. Like there's all kinds of food right
there. Yeah, I really want to. There's just some things that, like, there's okay. I'll give 2 things. One, seeing sea turtles from up in the air is easier from a tall boat, and then one, like I feel like bottlenose dolphin inside there is kind of easy because like see what they're eating and stuff is easier from being way up high.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Kate's photos that I've seen from the bottlenose in there are pretty cool because she's looking way down on top of them.
Yeah. I think for getting those photos of them with the salmon, that was the best.
Mhm.
But then they also have been bow riding the boat, which has been really cool because like they're just so big, you know. Like Sammy was on the boat yesterday and I was like, go look, they're bow riding because she was standing up by me while I was driving. And she went down there, she's like, that's way bigger than any dolphin I've seen bow ride the boat before, because they're like twice the size of like a common dolphin or like a white
Yep.
side.
Yeah, when you really get close to bottlenose, you just see their sheer size. It's
Yeah.
pretty impressive. Especially and coastals are smaller than offshores too. Offshores are pretty big.
Yeah. I mean, our coastals are well fed, so they're quite rotund.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, they're big.
Yeah, they got salmon everywhere.
Yeah. So yeah. But
Well,
They're
anyway,
it's
funny
been
'cause
go ahead.
they're catching them, but the fishing boats aren't.
I know, isn't that
Mhm.
funny?
Rod caught. I
Actually,
was like, "How many you catch?" He's like 0, and I was like, "Ooh."
he
You're
actually
like, you
was
should ask the
fishing.
bottlenose.
He was actually fishing right outside where the bottlenose were. And I said, I bet these dolphins are catching salmon, like just being a smart ass. And then like 20 minutes later, I sent him a picture of the one with it in its
Oh, you
mouth.
did?
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
That's super cool.
All right, Saddam, hit it, Saddam. I was gonna say Simons and Adam.
I am a little Saddam. It's been hit or miss. We had a big group of humpbacks move in a couple days ago. It was about 12 whales, and there's some SoCal whales in there. There's Twitch was in there, a whale called Lori Laney, a whale called Bling was in there.
Wait, you have Bling and Blingy?
No, there's Blingy, sorry, just Blingy.
Oh, I was like,
No,
you
there's
can't
not
do
Blingy
that.
Blingy. No, just Blingy. And so we had a big group of humpbacks move in, and then literally the next day they were gone. So it just seems like that kind of year so far. I'm still hopeful. I think in the next week or so, the blue whales move in, and we haven't been able to check the blue whale zone in probably a week and a half, 2 weeks. And I think today is the first day that we're going to go check it out because we have some actually decent weather for once. And where they feed typically is about 30 miles away. So we're gonna haul ass out there today and see what we can see. But besides that, there's been thousands of dolphins the entire year, which has been pretty impressive just every single day, which is making me wonder why there's not more humpbacks around. Like, I don't know where our Santa Barbara humpbacks are. I don't know where Scarlet is. I don't know where DeSucky's is. Like all of our local humpbacks that we see.
I mean, I feel like that's how it is with Monterey too. It's like we haven't seen a lot of our regulars except for a few moms. You know, like Lim showed up for a couple days and then disappeared, and then he was
Fran
back
was
a
there
couple
for a
weeks
while.
later. Yeah, well, Fran, I think just took her sweet time because she had a calf. But I keep hearing reports of whales like on the between Santa Barbara and here, and then like between the Farallones and here.
Yeah.
And so it's like they're probably all still just wandering around. They're just taking a little longer to settle down than they usually do, which hopefully means we'll have a really nice fall.
What Danny said on the radio yesterday, I kind of agree with. He was like, there's just so much food out there that they haven't made their way in the bait. They just no reason, like, because we definitely have anchovies.
Oh,
like,
yeah, there's bait everywhere.
Out of the harbor,
so
every 100 feet, like a school of anchovies lit up next to my boat. So I think he's right. There's just tons of food offshore, and he's like, they haven't moved in yet, which is fine.
Yeah,
I mean, between Santa Barbara and Monterey, there's Avila and Morro Bay, and they're reporting a ton of whales.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
there's a lot of whales reported up north too.
In Half Moon Bay, yeah.
And every time I have a friend that like does a boat run from like Monterey to Santa Barbara, they're always just like, there's just loads of whales off of Morro Bay and Avila. So, and even down to Point Conception, I hear there's whales. That's just a little bit far out of our range for the 4.5 hour tours, unless we have a really nice weather day and we can gun it at 28 knots. You know, it just doesn't really make sense to burn.
Well, the price of fuel when you're that doesn't really make sense right now either with the price of fuel.
Yeah. So we're gonna check out our blue whale feeding ground today. I think that's the plan. So fingers crossed they moved in because they were here for about a week, a good group of blue whales, and then they moved out. And that's kind of typical. I think they really start to settle down here, like in a good blue whale year, kind of later July, and they'll be here August, September. So we'll see. It's not necessarily early on in the season, but it's I don't think it's settled in quite yet. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
They'll be here.
I think
Yeah,
so.
it'll
I think-
happen.
We had such a crazy May compared to other years too, and so I think that it all happened a little earlier this year.
Yeah.
Or I don't
The
know. I think
timing's
something-
just weird.
Something happened weird because normally our June is where it sucked, and I think that our June was decently okay. For most
June
of
was
it.
better than most years. Yeah.
Well, and it's like here too. Like we had a group of 30 humpbacks move in early February, like super early on, and then ever since then it's been a group of 10 whales moves in for a day or two, and then they move out, and then they come back in, and then they come back out. So we'll see. It'll happen. I'm not stressing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, to stick with our Antarctica theme that we'll be revisiting a lot this
Yes.
summer. This has been in the news cycle off and on for the last year, 6 months at least, since last winter. But we're going to talk about the return of large fin whale feeding aggregations to historical whaling grounds in the Southern Ocean. So this was posted on social media by a few researchers, like photos and videos of this. And then also it's on one of the BBC 7 Worlds, 1 Planet episodes.
Yep. It's
Um,
on the first episode. It's the last scene of the first episode.
And so the actual paper is now out. It just got released on July 7th in Scientific Reports. And so just some background information on fin whales in the Southern Ocean, and looking at their recovery is sort of where this paper came out of. So the estimates right now for whaling for fin whales was that over 700,000 fin whales were killed in the Southern Ocean from 1904 to 1976.
700. Wait, say that again.
700,000. A 7 with 5 zeros after it.
Oof.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I mean that is 72 years of whaling history, taking that many whales. The fin whale population for that area before whaling started was estimated to be 325,000 animals.
So they
over 72 years they took 700,000 fin whales. It was like
so
a real
the population was actually double what they thought it was. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like the whales were, trying to reproduce and maintain their numbers and just slowly were removed from the ocean, like just real slow burn for 70 years. Because think about, okay, so you have 325,000, you don't catch them all in 1 year. So they are still reproducing. And so then like some of the fin whales that were born when whaling first started grew up to be adults that still got caught before whaling was over.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah. The majority of whaling for fin whales happened at the northern end of the Western Antarctic Peninsula, which is where we're going during our trip.
Uh-oh.
And after whaling ended in the Southern Hemisphere, which for some species ended before the moratorium, we'll have to see if we can string together a better timeline of events to like kind of frame that at some point in the future. But southern right whales, I think maybe all right whales, and then like certain species in around the Southern Ocean, whaling, like the stock assessment was set to 0 years before the moratorium was put in place because they're like, oh, there's no more
No
of
whales.
So the International Whaling Commission did do surveys of the region from 1978 to 2004, just because, I mean, the Whaling Commission was originally established as like a fisheries management organization, basically. So they had to do stock assessments to see if they could open whaling again. But also then to just know what the impact was of the fishery. And they didn't really see any whales during that time period, 1974 to 2004. They didn't really see very many fin whales. Since the 2000s, though, fin whale sightings have been increasing, and there are some hotspots that have sort of been cross-referenced by different survey groups. Waters parallel to the Antarctic Peninsula, the Southern Drake Passage, around Elephant Island, and the South Orkney Islands. And in 2013, there was an aerial survey around the South Shetland Islands, and they estimated the fin whale population to be about 4,898. So like almost 4,900. And they had groups of up to 70 fin whales in one area together.
Oh, it's like
That'd
heaven.
be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? I think the
Oh,
most
my
I've ever
gosh.
seen is like 15 to 20 in one
Most
area.
fin whales I've ever seen is like 6.
We had
I've seen a bunch of blue whales though. One spot.
We had one fall. I think it was 2016. Was it your first fall, Slater?
For me, for my time.
2015, maybe.
We had a fall where all those blue whales, like 50 blue whales and a humpback, showed up.
That was that same year.
Oh, then maybe yeah.
But the fin whales was not the fin whales were not every day. No, it was when I was still working at Monterey Bay Whale Watch. It had to be 15 or 16.
Discovery. I was at Discovery then.
Because I remember being on the Blackfin during sunset trips and being like, this is a lot of fin whales. And then like at one point it was like 15 or 16 fin whales in one area. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, so this paper, that's all the background information that's guiding the need for this further surveys. So they are reporting on their surveys from 2018 and 2019. They did helicopter surveys, but also ship-based surveys. Like they would get on cruise ships that are transecting the Drake and then hitch a ride to their study site or whatever. So there's some information in there about that, which also Dave Cade kind of talked about too, how he's like hitchhiked on cruise ships to get a ride to where he's going. During this helicopter surveys, the first year, which was March and April of 2018, they did not see any large aggregations of fin whales, except there was one group when the helicopter was moving between transect sites. So it was like technically off effort, where they saw 15 fin whales feeding with Antarctic fur seals and chinstrap penguins. Which is
so cool.
Super cool.
That's ridiculous.
Can you imagine?
No, I can't.
Penguins feeding with a whale.
No, literally no.
Dude, I would.
From the drone, imagine you have a fin whale and instead of dolphins riding its rostrum, it's literal penguins.
Yeah, I want to do
penguins do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Why would they not?
You think they bow ride?
Heck yeah.
You've seen it?
Yeah, in my dreams.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if penguins can bow ride.
Why would they not?
No.
They porpoise out of the water.
Yeah, but they don't have dolphins have echolocation. Like they know if they're gonna run into the boat or not. I feel like
they also
running from the boat.
Like dolphins also have their pec fins are more out to help them with balance, and then all of them except northern right whale dolphins have a dorsal fin. Well, and southern right whale dolphins. So they have a good way to balance while they're surfing. But like penguins, when you see them swimming, they have their wings tucked into the side.
No, they flap their wings to
when
move.
they're gliding though, like when you see them porpoising and gliding.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I bet you it happens.
Well,
I'm gonna film it.
We'll find out.
Just ride on the back of a fin whale if I was a penguin.
Yeah.
Just stand on it.
They could surf on it.
Do you think
that's how Surf's Up was invented?
Yeah, exactly. I love that movie. It's a great classic movie. Do you think that how we see humpbacks sometimes like a pelican will get stuck in a humpback's mouth? Do you think penguins get stuck in fin whales' mouths for a second and they're like, ah,
be awesome.
You gotta spit them out?
I don't know.
They're so fast, man.
Yeah, it's true.
But doesn't matter if you're fast and you're going the wrong way.
Yeah, it's true. If it can happen to a sea lion, it can happen to a penguin, I guess.
Yeah, who knows? So that same year, where the helicopter surveys didn't see big groups of whales, the ship surveys did. They had large aggregations. One was up to 50 whales and one was up to 70 whales. So they were sort of on the right track. And then the next year, in 2019, they had large aggregations of up to 150 animals observed at Elephant Island, which is where all that crazy footage has been coming from. Is from those groups.
I get a photo at sunset of that many spouts, I'll retire.
Literally, that photo in that paper is so cool. You can almost not even tell it's spouts. It's just
the whole horizon is just spouts.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So cool. Yeah, so there's photos and videos included in the paper. So when we post it, the YouTube link on our Facebook page in the comment section, the paper will be there. So if you want to check it out, you just click like the supplemental information, and it's pretty incredible to see. Some of the lunch feeding videos I was watching, I was like, this is like whale chaos. There is like
Literally, you don't know. There's no order.
there's no organization. Like one whale at some point like swims out from the bottom of the frame up and like cuts off like 4 other whales. I was like, what is happening?
How do
And
they
then
not
like
just run into each other all
lunch
day?
feeds right next to another one that had just finished feeding. Like I don't think they planned it.
Just imagine how much krill must be there. Like I can't even fathom that.
Yeah.
It's so weird that the water is honestly not red. That's what
Yeah.
like, blows my mind.
Well, I don't know if it's because they're like too high, because
No,
they're
'cause there's some
flying and you can
shots-
see
there's-
like 50
There's some
whales
shots where
in
they
one
get
frame.
There's some shots where they get down low though.
Nah, it's weird to me that the water and same in Iceland. When I filmed the whales all lunch feeding, you couldn't see what they were feeding on.
Huh.
Maybe it's not even krill. It's just water. They're just drinking water.
They're just really,
I don't
really
think
thirsty.
I don't think they would waste that energy to just
never
get
know,
water.
dude.
So I think the other thing I'll note for people, if you watch the footage, is that they are all lunging right-handed. And think about the coloration of a fin whale's
Yeah.
head. It's white on the right side. So that's like a feeding advantage, because the prey get confused when they see the white. They think they're still like looking up at the sky, not a predator. And then they open their mouth and grab it all. So every fin whale you see in the video is lunging, rolling on its right side.
And there's one humpback in the middle, or a couple humpbacks in the middle.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
so
their
crazy.
write-up of these encounters is they're claiming that these are some of the largest feeding aggregations of baleen whales ever reported. The next closest would be like the Sardine Run off the coast of Africa.
Really?
Wait, there's
Yeah.
there's that many whales off the Sardine Run?
Sometimes, yeah, over
I think
100.
the Sardine Run is just so hit or miss though.
Yeah, and the location moves. But
Because I mean, I didn't notice that many whales in the footage.
some of the videos are like 15, 20 humpbacks, and then some of the videos are like 100, and you're like,
Whoa.
oh
Yeah, I've seen some. There's that one video in Our Planet at the end sequence, and they have this shot from the drone, and it's like there's literally like 50 whales in the frame.
Mm-hmm. So there is some talk in the paper when they're writing up like how do these feeding aggregations happen. They're talking about probably some of this is culturally transmitted knowledge of feeding grounds by female baleen whales to their offspring. So moms showing calves where to go their first summer. And they're also calling these really large groups like a potential rediscovery of ancestral feeding grounds post whaling, which is like, we say that about humpbacks in California too, you know, like they're using these areas that they probably historically used and then like either left the area because of whaling or like lost that cultural knowledge. And then a few whales figured it out and came back into those zones.
Well, it's also like, are those ancestral feeding grounds as productive as they once were? Probably not.
Yeah, that's there's a little bit of talk about that towards the end of the paper. But the aggregations that they're seeing now, they do match up with whaling catch record locations historically, except for Elephant Island. But there's sort of a caveat about that. So their records indicate that more whaling occurred closer to whaling stations, and there was infrequent effort made out at Elephant Island, except for on the quote from the whaling logs is exceptional occasions when the whales were unusually scarce around the South Shetland Islands. So the stations were at the Shetland Islands. And when you just think about cost, economics of whaling, the further you are from port, the more costly your trip is. So they wouldn't go that far to places like Elephant Island unless there really were no whales.
Yeah, and when you look at it, the peninsula, it's like if they're set up at the Shetland Islands, that's the closest to the peninsula, and then it goes the Elephant Island, and then it goes the South Orkney Islands.
So whales
that's,
are
like,
coming
pretty
back
far
to
out there.
Whales are coming back to historical places because they have been seeing them around South Shetland Islands, Orkney Islands, off the peninsula. And they probably were always at Elephant Island as well. It's just there wasn't as much whaling effort there. So there's no record
of it. Yeah.
Kind of funny how far apart the Shetland Islands are, like the south and north.
Yeah.
Like, do you know where the north ones are?
Way up.
Like, they're not even, they're like off of United Kingdom, or off of.
Wait, what?
Yeah, there's, if you look up Shetland Islands.
Yeah, it's just the same.
Well, yeah, there are. No, yeah, it's because that's who settled it.
Yes,
it's same thing with Orkney. Yeah. There's Orkney Islands in the UK too.
Yeah.
Dang, so those were some explorers, huh?
Yeah.
Who's Orkney and Shetland?
Colonizers.
Can I be friends with them? Oh, that's true. I don't want to be friends with them.
Wow, I'm your friend.
Never mind.
Loser.
Nah, never mind.
Okay, so fin whales have returned to the South Shetland Islands, but they haven't really been as recorded as much in Bransfield Strait, which is a historical place that they caught fin whales. But they note that there are humpback whales that use Bransfield Strait now and a lot of the inshore waters of the Western Antarctic Peninsula. So the question then becomes like, is this a prey competition thing, or like the humpbacks sort of moving the fin whales out of those zones because they're out competing them? Or are there really just that much more humpback whales? And so they're just re-establishing the habitat first and the fin whales will come later. It's interesting because depending on how you read the humpback whales range and what space they use, I think there's about 7,000 humpback whales that feed off of the Western Antarctic Peninsula in a high concentration. And this paper is establishing that the population abundance estimate for fin whales is now almost 8,000 fin whales, 7,909. So I don't know. Guess
so
we're going to
funny.
see how the food web readjusts.
Yeah.
Humpbacks we know a lot about, but like all the other whales, like there's no like just guaranteed route that they go here and then go there,
Right. Yeah. I mean, the next thing on my notes is migration patterns of fin whales are poorly understood. They don't even know if they're South Pacific or South Atlantic fin whales. They don't know where they're coming from. Yeah.
Oh, like they could be on this side and then go.
How have they not tagged them?
Because they don't last for they last 72 hours at the most. So what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean,
there's some long-term tags, aren't there?
Yeah, but putting those long-term sat tags on are really invasive.
Yeah,
like
they get
you have to harpoon it into the whale.
Messages, you get to it's too much.
No, it's like and I think you have. I guess you don't have to get it back because it talks to the satellite every day. But those big sat tags, they're several feet long. And they have to harpoon into the whale. And then there's been some complications in the past with infections around the injection site or improper ejection when the tag is done working.
We need to sedate a whale, fin whale, and then take its fluke and pierce it.
But they don't fluke.
No, you just fluke. You just get in the water and you use a big hole puncher.
But then how's it going to talk to the satellite? They don't put their tail out of the water.
It floats when it comes up as a
put it on the dorsal fin. Oh.
Slater's got all the answers.
Can you imagine trying to keep a full-grown fin whale at the surface when it's sedated?
Or so you think it just sink down?
Yeah.
No, they would float. Just give them a. Whoa, I'm blurry. Just give them a trazodone. That's what we give the dog. That's what you give a dog when it has anxiety. So just give them 20 of those. It probably wouldn't even feel it, honestly.
No.
God, I wonder how much of any dosage a whale would need to make it feel anything.
I think the only people that have really started to figure that out are some of the stranding teams in Australia and the disentanglement teams in the North Atlantic.
Oh, because they have done it to some
I think they have administered sedative to North Atlantic right whales during disentanglement just to get the whale to calm down. And then in Australia, I know they have some pretty good examples of when they've decided to euthanize an animal on the beach. because it's just like there's no way it's going to successfully be refloated.
Yeah.
So
Dang.
yeah,
So we're out
But-
there doing crazy stuff.
we're trying, but man, it's not easy.
Well, if they need help, let me know. I'm here.
I'll wrangle a fin whale and put a tag on its dorsal fin. It's fine.
I really like that the snotbot is dropping from the drone. I dropping the tags on the blue
Oh,
whales
yeah.
and stuff.
Yep.
Oh, I
yeah.
saw that. Yeah, it was super cool.
Dude, that'd be fun.
That
did
takes
it.
some major skill.
We could do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so just last notes I'll make about just kind of following up with your comments about like habitat use and food. So again, referring to this Savoca 2021 paper, this paper is pretty monumental at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been cross-referenced in a lot of papers we're talking about. So his paper suggests that baleen whales before whaling were consuming about 430 million tons of krill every year. The current
Know what that
estimate of biomass of krill in the area today available to be eaten is about half that.
Yeah. So that, I mean,
So-
in my mind, that's why like we're slowly starting to see them go back to those ancestral feeding grounds. But at the same time, it's like they're just not as productive as they once were.
Yeah, but I think that this further supports the idea of the whale pump. Like you need
Yeah,
humpbacks
absolutely.
there, or you need baleen whales there to support that food web. And
Yeah.
especially because there was always this theory. I think we talked about it maybe a long time ago on the podcast, but there's always this theory during whaling that if they removed a bunch of whales from the Southern Ocean, that there was going to be like a krill surplus.
Yeah.
Because the whales
because they
weren't eating
stopped.
it
Yeah,
anymore.
it's the other way around.
And that's not true. There was never a krill surplus.
Yeah.
Which, you know, shows that those two things are very closely linked to each other.
How funny is that?
Well, and it's
Like I'm gonna eat you and poop you out, and then you're gonna make more of yourself because I pooped on you. Like so funny.
Well, basically
just-
because they pooped on their food.
Yeah.
It's crazy that like we could literally if whale populations recover to a certain point, they're literally like a weapon against climate change.
Mhm.
Like that's crazy to think about.
Yep.
It really sucks that we just had to kill them in the first place. Like,
Yep.
Really, I
goddamn,
think
needed
the
some light
world.
bulbs, huh?
Yeah.
Like Thomas,
Lanterns.
like honestly,
Lanterns.
it's just born in the wrong. Like if we could have just had that stuff a little earlier.
Yeah, Thomas Edison, dude. Why aren't you burning?
Yeah,
a little
but-
bit earlier.
Then we're generating power now from fossil fuels, and that's not really doing anybody any favors either.
Oh,
Dang, it's just like it. If that, I honestly think the world would be a completely different place if the whaling era never happened.
I think we'd be
But-
destroying it one way or another somehow.
I guess I think so, but the quantity of whales, unless there was like a huge die off because the oceans literally couldn't support that many whales. I think
No.
without the
Weird, like,
whaling
no
era,
matter
like,
what, I feel like we were gonna kill whales. Like somehow, I don't know why.
Yeah, whaling was timed so closely with the Industrial Revolution, and like literally was
kind
the
of had to
fuel,
happen.
the fuel for the Industrial Revolution, right? Like we didn't have these monumental leaps in human technology without having a fuel source to do it, and whales were it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we never stop to think about how what we're doing is going to like have ramifications across the ecosystem. Like
Yeah.
when we're doing it, we're just like, this is great, let's do more of it, and then we just go overboard, and then we're like, oh
It's a-
shoot, now we
I
messed
always-
this up again.
I always think the same thing when you have an invasive species problem and then they introduce another invasive species to get rid of that invasive species. It's just like, let's just get rid
That's
of it. Like it's just
that's the worst
literally the
method
worst thing you could do.
possible.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of the whales were even consumed though, you know, like it was literally just for oil, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like pretty much kind of a waste besides the oil part of it,
Yeah.
which is why we probably have like all the stuff we have today. So but why can't we like thank them now and be like, you know what, we're gonna help you recover since we don't need you anymore, like as far as like oil. Like we don't need you to feed ourselves. or to, you know, keep
Line
How
up
do you
below.
want to? How do you
Let's-
want to thank them?
by
What do you
helping
mean?
them.
Shake their hand. Shake their
Grab a flipper,
flippers.
dude, and swim around. I'm just
Thank
saying,
you, Will.
like how can we not be like, you know what? We have cars and computers and cameras and all these things basically because we use them for fuel to get further in life.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Maybe let's just pave the road with their bones instead.
Why don't we just freaking make ropeless gear?
I think in the
like
future
the
we just
easiest
also
one.
need to look at like how connected things are before we start taking a bunch of something out of the ecosystem.
Well, there's not much left, so it's kind of like I don't know where we're gonna decide to be like, oh, you know what? Like unless
Well, it's like with those pipelines and stuff that are always going on in Canada and up north. It's like, okay, let's not do that. Like that's something we could fight for, right? Like,
yeah, I was telling Caitlin about like my friend said something the other day about like gas prices. And it's like, yeah, they're really high, but it's like, think about how many cars are driving on the road every day. Like how much fuel is being put in tanks
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty
Well,
crazy. Like it almost makes sense at its eye. I get that we could try to get it lowered, but it's like, we're also just like consuming so much gas. Like,
we also need to be paid more because the cost of living is just horrible.
Well,
But
yeah, I mean, I think there's a whole like profiteering thing that's happening in the oil industry that is criminal. Like some people
Oh,
at the
for
top
sure.
are making way too much money, but at the same time, it's like, how much is fossil fuels like really actually worth to us when you think
It's
about
just-
the impact on our planet
it's not sustainable. You can't sustain
and
it.
but also like I think we should be paying more per gallon for it, but the money should
Absolutely.
get redistributed in a different way because like think about how much damage we're doing to our planet to use this fuel source.
Yeah, it should come back to
So
us in some way.
shouldn't it
planet
be
in some way.
expensive? Shouldn't it be something that holds a high dollar value?
oh, it's like sushi. I think you should be able to
Because-
consume sushi, but it should be a high dollar amount. It used to
Because
be a
you can-
delicacy, but it's just not
You can
anymore.
you can
Yeah.
survive without sushi. You can have sushi as a delicacy, but in our transportation world, you can't have gas as a delicacy. Like you need it to get around. You need it
Right
for
now,
work.
yeah, there are no
Right
alternate fuel
now.
sources yet that are affordable.
And we
anymore.
truly don't
Yeah.
know if electricity is that much better right now. Like,
Well,
No,
right
it's not.
now it's not because it's pulling from the grid, which is just fossil fuels.
Yeah.
But
to, like
if
to
you
make
invest,
all of the stuff that is exactly, it might even just be just as bad. So,
but if
Yeah.
we all start to invest in electric cars and renewable energy resources, solar, wind,
well, they're
whatever the case
$80,000,
is,
so.
I get it, but there has to
I
be a
mean,
change somewhere.
even if you can't afford to put solar panels on your house, guess what? You can vote for someone who's on your city council that then can
Yep.
make it a rule for
Cheaper.
government buildings in your area, or who can put legislation in to make it cheaper to incentivize people to do it. You know, there's other ways you can do it. Even if you can't directly afford it, there are people out there who can make those the
That's
rules.
the whole point of
Guess who owns
democracy in
houses?
the U.S., right? Like,
No
Rich
one our
people.
age own
Not
yeah,
us.
not
Not
us, not
like-
I. Unless
like-
you live in freaking Kentucky.
I don't even know if I want to own a house. Doesn't sound that fun. I have to fix everything. like
No, but I mean, but
I mean, freaking $1 billion for an apartment right now.
like what if someone ran for your city council or whatever, your county or whatever, and they like said any new building that's constructed has to have solar panels on it.
Well,
That'd be dope.
I live in Monterey where they're not allowed to make new buildings, and to the old
'cause
people
there's
aren't
no
gonna change. Yeah,
There's
and,
no water for new buildings.
and second to that, the people that own these buildings are really old. They're not changing their ways now. So
But
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
they're gonna
that's what I'm
die
saying.
soon. So
Think outside the box. There are people that can change the system that you can empower and support, even if you don't have any power over your current situation.
Well,
yeah,
imagine
like
if they-
freaking Caitlin Taylor. She's gonna change the world.
well, imagine if they put solar panels on this whole apartment complex, right? And
That'd be
and
incredible.
and then it lowered our electricity bill.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and
That's
then they would
what-
just
that's
charge
what
me
should happen when-
$3,500 for
exactly.
rent, so it would just go up. Like it wouldn't
That's what
even
should be
benefit
happening.
me.
No,
Yeah, it
but
wouldn't
but
benefit
that
me.
you'd think companies would want to reinvest in what they have. Like that apartment complex should be taking that $3,000 you're giving every month, and everybody else in that apartment complex is giving them every month, and reinvesting it into stuff like that. But people just have this sense of money, just keep sitting on it, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, why do we have to have money? That was the stupidest thing we ever
Yeah,
decided to do as
it's dumb.
humanity.
Why can't we
Because
like
it
why
could-
can't
it
we
would have been
work in
food.
currency of like air? Yeah, I
No, it
guess
would have been
food.
food. And then the problem is we'd be trading our salt, and we'd run out of it, and then we'd be trading their turkeys, and it'd be like, oh no, we're out of turkeys. And it'd be like next thing. Now we're
It's 'cause
trading
we're
whales.
We're
Then we're out of
too
whales.
greedy. We're too greedy. It's the worst.
It's the American dream. It's all bullshit.
It's
But
just
it's fun.
capitalism.
It's capitalism. That's true.
All
Anyways,
right. Anyway, so we
This
tried not to
time.
have this rant, but we're having this rant. So
we're having this.
whale
rant.
of the week is actually not a whale. It's
Yeah.
the leatherback sea turtle.
I was looking at that. That was the first thing I looked at when I was looking at our notes, and I was like, "Whale of the week, leatherback turtle."
So thanks for listening. And as you can tell, we're stoked to go to Antarctica. I hope we see a whole bunch of fin whales because they're my favorite baleen whale. Just saying.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they're cool looking and they're mysterious.
They are very mysterious.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. Have a good rest of your week.
Thanks,
you for
guys.
listening.
Talk soon.
Bye.